What's up everybody, this is Master Ian Gamer. 2021 was an awful year for Overwatch. Not only has it contained the most severe content drought the game has ever seen, but also Blizzard as a company was riddled with controversies and terrible, yet totally warranted bad press. So now that we're about to close out this abysmal year, I wanted to do a sort of retrospective video, looking back over the course of 2021 and consider some of the things that actually went pretty well for Overwatch, and then consider what sort of future might be in store for the game come 2022. Real quick before we get into it, I'd like to remind you to subscribe and hit up that bell icon to never miss out on any future Overwatch and Overwatch 2 news and content. But now, let's take a look back at the worst year Overwatch has had to date. Now, when it comes to 2021, I feel like you can actually divide the year itself into two separate eras. There's the good era and the bad era. Now, I was considering coming up with some more unique and interesting names for these two eras, but honestly, I think good and bad are the best ways of defining the two. So let's go ahead and rewind the clock back to January 2021 and look at the start of this past year's good era. 2021 honestly started off fairly strong for Overwatch. We saw the Kanazaka Deathmatch map released to live servers in January, and then not long after that in February, we had BlizzConline, which is perhaps the single most exciting thing that happened for Overwatch over the course of the entire year. During BlizzConline, we got our first proper look at Overwatch 2 since the game was first announced back in 2019, and we got to see some really interesting development when it came to both the PvP and PvE sides of the game. Honestly, at this point, hype for Overwatch and Overwatch 2 was probably the highest it'd been in over a year at that point, and people were getting really excited to see what else Blizzard had to show for the Overwatch sequel. The next couple of months weren't particularly noteworthy until we got to the anniversary event in May, where Blizzard once again had a big showcase for Overwatch 2, this time specifically focusing on the PvP side of the game, and announcing that Overwatch 2 would be shifting to a 5v5 format. Now, 5v5 still to this day is a fairly controversial change, to say the least. Personally, I have mixed feelings about it. I've talked about it extensively in past videos of mine, so I'm not going to waste time repeating myself here. But nonetheless, it's a big change for the sequel, and it certainly garnered a lot of attention. On top of the Overwatch 2 anniversary stream, though, we also ended up getting crossplay added as a feature to Overwatch around this same time, which was a feature that Overwatch fans had been begging for years at this point. While Blizzard probably should have added this a lot sooner than they did, it was still a pleasant surprise to see them actually add it as a feature to the game, and for the most part, I think people were glad to see it added. But beyond just the big features and progress reports for Overwatch 2, the first half of 2021 also was pretty good when it came to the cosmetics department, as not only did we get the regular events that run during that portion of the year, but also there were a plethora of mini-event hero challenges in addition to multiple new Overwatch League legendary skins. So looking back at this first half of 2021, things were honestly pretty good for Overwatch, at least compared to what would end up happening in the second half of the year. But before I move on to the bad era, I should also mention that the good era of 2021 wasn't objectively good, as there were a couple unfortunate developments which transpired during that part of the year, most notably being the departure of Jeff Kaplan from his position as Overwatch game director. For those of you who've been longtime fans of Overwatch, I'm sure you have many wonderful memories of Jeff Kaplan and the way he interacted with the community and was so dedicated to making Overwatch a fantastic game for all of us to play. So unsurprisingly, when news suddenly dropped that he would be leaving Blizzard entirely and moving on to other things, well, it was pretty tragic news for us in the community to end up hearing. Of course, at the time, many of us saw it as a potential red flag for things going on internally at Blizzard, which, oh boy, did we not even know the half of it at that point. But needless to say, Jeff's departure in early 2021 was a rather tragic incident in an otherwise fairly decent sequence of 6 months or so. But then, everything changed when the allegations attacked. More specifically, starting in late July, when details on the lawsuit began to come out and the horrific accusations being made against Blizzard. Now, again, I don't think it's very worthwhile for me to delve too much into this topic here in this video, since I've already discussed it at length in past videos of mine. mine. And I'm sure if you've been paying attention to Overwatch at all over the past year, you're very well aware of all this already. But needless to say, this was an incredibly disappointing, incredibly dark turn for Blizzard as a company, and subsequently Overwatch as a game. However, beyond just the lawsuit, Overwatch itself took a rather disappointing turn as well. The number of mini-events and in-game updates we ended up getting ground to an almost absolute halt, with there only being one hero challenge in the latter half of 2021, and after August, balance patches for specific heroes stopped entirely. Needless to say, this has been a very, very dark time for Overwatch. Whatever hope and optimism had been built up for the game and its sequel in the first half of 2021 was now ripped away and replaced with utter disgust and disappointment. It honestly looked incredibly bleak for Overwatch at this point. So much so that many content creators, myself included, had to wrestle with the question of whether or not it was even worth continuing to cover this game, since we not only didn't want to support the actions Blizzard was carrying out as a company, but also in terms of having content to actually make as content creators online, there just wasn't much to work with. Now, I will admit there were a few diamonds during this period, such as the pro players finally getting to play an early build of Overwatch 2, along with new Overwatch 2 reworks for Sombra and Bastion, and hey, we even got the first couple issues of a brand new comic series, which is something the game hadn't seen in nearly a year at that point. And perhaps the most unexpected beacon of hope we got only just recently was the content creator experimental card, where select content creators from the Overwatch community got to provide input on specific hero balance changes for an experimental card, which honestly turned out to be one of the most fun things we've gotten to do in the game in probably over a year. But unfortunately, these few good things we got over the past few months really weren't enough to rebuild trust and interest with Blizzard following the horrific allegations and lawsuit we had come out earlier in the year. And that, of course, then brings us up to the time of me recording this video. 2021 is about to come to an end, and it has been a turbulent year for Overwatch, to say the least. There were a number of exciting announcements and good changes brought to the game, but overall they were just horrifically bogged down by how few and far between these actual content updates were, and of course the horrendous information we got about Blizzard as a company and what was going on inside it. So with this crazy year finally behind us, what do we now have to look forward to in 2022? Looking at the concrete things we know are going to be happening, at least in the early part of 2022, the biggest and most interesting thing we have coming is that the Overwatch League in April will be played on an early build of Overwatch 2. Now, we really don't know much about this early build. We don't know if it's supposed to be like a beta form of the game, or how much content from the sequel is actually going to be in it, but we do have a bit of information when it comes to what we can expect, thanks to an interview with Aaron Keller back in September, from when the pro players first got to try out the Overwatch 2 changes.
The question that I have is, in the future when we get the build in Overwatch League 2022, are we going to have the original, right now, 32 heroes all available for us?
Our plan is that we will have all of those heroes, all 32 of those heroes, playable for the next season of Overwatch League. And who knows, there might even be a few more.
So what Aaron Keller seems to be saying here is that as long as there aren't any more unforeseen roadblocks, by the time we reach April of 2022, we'll likely have already seen all the rest of the hero reworks. This includes changes for heroes like Orisa, Sigma, Doomfist, Moira, as well as a few other characters who are still being tweaked a bit in preparation of the changes for Overwatch 2. More specifically, what I think this is going to end up meaning is that over the next couple months, we're probably going to see more hero rework reveals, similar to the ones we got for Bastion and Sombra back in September, being shown off and publicized as part of the hype build-up for the Overwatch League in 2022. And in addition to this, it sounds like we may even start to see new heroes shown off. However, I should mention that if I'm being honest, I'm a bit skeptical about this latter part of his statement. He says we might be seeing a few new ones showing up, but I kind of feel like if there's any, it's only going to be one new hero, and that new hero is going to be Sojourn, given that she's already been officially revealed as a hero in Overwatch 2, and we've even seen little tidbits of her gameplay in past presentations. So yeah, I could see Sojourn becoming a playable hero in the Overwatch League for 2022, but beyond that, I'm a little skeptical we're necessarily going to see anyone else. I don't know, maybe that's me just being a bit cynical after a year of more or less total disappointment, and I would certainly love it if I ended up being wrong and there's more characters they plan to show off in early 2022, but I'm just honestly not going to get my hopes up for that. Also during this time period in early 2022, we can expect to see the rest of the New Blood comics drop, which is exciting for the 7 of you who actually care about the Overwatch story at this point, and also the new Reaper short story, which was leaked as being a part of the upcoming Overwatch short stories collection, which is going to be coming out in August. So if the collection of short stories is coming out in August, we're pretty much guaranteed to see the actual short story for Reaper come out sometime before then, so anytime during the first half of 2022 seems to be the window in which that could end up releasing. But aside from all this that I just discussed, we really don't have much else to go on. Obviously, during this past February, we had the BlizzCon line event, which was a huge presentation of the stuff Blizzard was working on for Overwatch 2, but with BlizzCon Line having been confirmed as something that will not be taking place again this year, it's hard to say whether the Overwatch team will just be putting together their own presentation in February or sometime early next year, or if they'll be focusing on just smaller, more frequent updates like the hero reworks I talked about earlier. I imagine they'll have to have some sort of notable presentation of some kind or another if the Overwatch League is going to be playing on an early build of Overwatch 2, but as for what exactly that would end up being, well, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see, I guess. Also, beyond April and the start of the Overwatch League, we really don't have any information about what to expect. What we do know is that, according to an earnings call report we got a couple months ago, apparently Overwatch 2 won't be launching until at least 2023, which makes it hard to say what exactly will be happening during this coming year. If we look at it from an optimistic perspective and say, oh, Overwatch 2, maybe that'll launch early 2023, then it seems like most of 2022 would probably be dedicated to building up hype for the sequel, which is pretty much what the Overwatch League playing an early build of it seems to be. And if we look back at how Blizzard built up to the release of the original Overwatch back in 2015 and 2016, then we might see them make similar moves to what they did back then, which could include new animated shorts introducing new heroes and major story aspects of the sequel, in addition to straight up new hero and map reveals, which are going to be necessary to show off before the game actually launches. But admittedly, even all that is just speculation at this point, because we really just don't know what to expect right now, which is, you know, kind of exciting, because like maybe there could be cool things coming that we just don't know about yet, but at the same time, given Blizzard's track record, it's also sort of scary, because what if there's just nothing? Now, I should also acknowledge that there was an NDA meeting some of the content creators had with Blizzard themselves not too long ago, and of course, I cannot talk about anything regarding that meeting, but the reason I wanted to bring it up is because I know everybody's going to be leaving comments saying, oh, what about the meeting? What do you think about that? And honestly, there's just nothing I can say regarding it. I know that's disappointing to hear, but I literally just can't say anything else about it. So for the time being, all I can say is that I'm excited for the future of Overwatch, and I'm interested in seeing what Blizzard does building up to Overwatch 2, but sadly we are very much so at a wait and see point in time where we just kind of have to sit on our hands and wait and see what Blizzard does. If there is one thing I can say, it's that I think Blizzard would be hard pressed to make 2022 a worse year than 2021 was, but hey, never say never. For all we know, Blizzard has some even more horrendous dark secrets locked away that we have yet to see, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I've got a good feeling for 2022, and hopefully you all will be sticking with me in Overwatch as we continue into the new year and hope for things to get even just a little bit better. That does it for this year's retrospective video though, as well as my quick little predictions about what we might be seeing in the next few months ahead. So let me know your thoughts on all this in the comments down below. What was your favorite thing from 2021? And what sort of stuff are you hoping to see for Overwatch in this coming year? As always, be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe, follow me on Twitter, hit up that bell icon, and come join my Discord server to hang out and never miss any of my future Overwatch content. Special thanks to my YouTube channel members who help make these videos possible, and if you'd like to join them to earn some cool rewards, then just hit that join button down below. Otherwise, this is Master Ian Gamer signing off, and until next time, have a great day.